Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Hope your day and your week have been going very well so far. Got a new day, which of course means a new NBA player prop video to share with you guys. But first, as always, people, please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. It helps the channel grow, and it really does mean a ton to us. With a new day comes some new opportunities to go ahead and make some money. I have 5 NBA player props to go ahead and share with you guys in tonight's NBA slate. But first, guys, before we dive into today's picks, a quick little recap of how we did last night. Jumping on over to GuyBostonSports.com. Overall, guys, a pretty solid night. We went 2-1 last night. It was a profitable night. Zach LaVine cashed easily with just his points line would have cashed, honestly. Great game for him and the Kings in general. Kello Ware cashed his line in the first half, so 2 really solid hits. And then Tyler Hero just really was never close. It would look pretty much dead from the beginning. Over 30.5 points plus assists. So it is what it is. We are on the path to 200 wins in our single bet category. We're now 191 and 155 on the year. Between single bets and parlays, we are up over 31 units profit this season. So we've had a fantastic season. We only got a few days left here of the regular season. So let's go ahead and finish the NBA regular season off very strong here. A few days left. Let's keep making some money before we move into the play-in tournament and the postseason, which of course starts next week. Little program alert, guys. I know MLB, there was no video yesterday. There's not going to be an MLB video today either. I'm not done betting MLB. I'm not done doing MLB videos. It just took a couple days at the pizza shop, not having enough time to do 2 videos. I've had just enough time to get the NBA videos done, but we should be back tomorrow with our baseball videos. So apologies to those who do watch the MLB videos. I know I haven't done a video since Friday now. We will be back tomorrow, and I will do an extra video on Saturday to go ahead and make up for the loss of the videos yesterday and today. But all right, guys, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive right into today's picks. All right, guys, jumping right into the outlier screen. Our first player prop in today's slate comes from the Atlanta Hawks-Orlando Magic game, 7 p.m. tip-off. I actually have 2 player props coming from this Hawks-Magic game. Our first of 2 player props and our first player prop overall in today's video is Trae Young of the Atlanta Hawks over 34.5 points plus assists. It's a little bit juiced. We're getting for -145 over on DraftKings. And the line is certainly jumping. This was available for like -130 less than an hour ago. Now -145. So try to hop on this play before it continues to rise up to a point where the value just isn't worth it. -145, still a little juiced, but I still think it's worth taking a shot at. The data is pretty solid across the board, recent data and overall data. You see that 8 of his last 10 games, he's cashed the over, averaging 36.8 points plus assists per game over his last 10 games. Go ahead, look at the last 20 game data for Trae Young, a 65% hit rate. 13 of his last 20, he's cashed the over. And actually, if you go ahead and narrow it down a little bit, it's like 13 of his last 16 games, he's cashed the over. So he's been on a pretty good run here. And the overall numbers this year are not bad. 55% hit rate on the season for Trae Young, averaging 35.62 points plus assists per game overall this year. So pretty solid data across the board from a head-to-head perspective. 3 of his last 5 matchups against Orlando, he's cashed the over. That's a 60% hit rate, averaging 38 points plus assists per game over those last 5 matchups. They played 2 times so far this year, back in February. Actually, both matchups were in February. February 10th and February 20th. The first time he missed it, finishing with 19 points and 6 assists. The last time they played, though, back on February 20th, he had a massive performance, 38 points and 6 assists. And the good thing for us here is the shot volume when he plays Orlando. That first time when he missed it back on February 10th, he took 17 shots. He just didn't shoot well, 6 for 17. Plenty of opportunities for him to go and cash the over. And then looking at the most recent one where he did cash it, he honestly could have did better. 13 for 28, 46% not awful, but not great either. So plenty of opportunities, even the potential assists. 17, 14, a lot of opportunities here. He only had 6 assists and 8 assists, so plenty of opportunities for him to do even more than what he already has done against them, which I think is very encouraging with this matchup. And for Atlanta, there is something to play for here. Obviously, Orlando and Atlanta, they're locked into the play-in tournament, but now they're kind of battling for seeding spots. Right now, Orlando is the 7th seed, Atlanta is the 8th seed, but Chicago and Miami are both pretty close to Atlanta. Not only does Atlanta want to maybe leapfrog Orlando and get in that 7th spot, I think at the worst, they want to stay in that 8th spot so they can avoid playing the 9-10 game to kick things off. The 9-10 game, of course, being single elimination. Whoever loses, they're done for the year. And it's not a bad matchup. Like I said, the head-to-head data is solid versus point guards. Overall, Orlando ranks pretty well, but over the last 7 games, they do rank bottom half in the NBA in both points allowed and assists allowed to point guards. If you look down below here, the numbers, a lot of green here, a lot of point guards, Carlton Carrington, Chris Paul, even Marcus Smart, Brandon Williams, guys who you wouldn't really expect to cash the line, LaMelo Ball, played very well against them. Harden just barely missed his line. So some pretty good data here across the board. It looks like a pretty good player prop. Minus 145, a little steep from an odds standpoint, but pretty good value overall, I think. All right, guys, our second player prop coming from this game. The data is not as clean, but I think it's a pretty good matchup spot here. We got Paolo Banchero of the Orlando Magic over 33.5 points plus assists. This one, pretty good value, minus 105 over on DraftKings. As always, guys, make sure to shop around for the best sportsbook odds available. Now, the recent data is not great. 5 of his last 10 games, he's cashed the over. 9 of his last 20. So from a recent standpoint, honestly, an overall standpoint, Paolo Banchero has not been cashing this line all that much. 36% hit rate on the season, averaging 30.73 points plus assists per game. Now, this line is certainly a little bit elevated, I think, due to the matchup here with Atlanta. Now, although the rest of that data is not great, the head-to-head data is actually pretty solid. You see 3 of his last 5 matchups against Orlando, including 3 of his last 4 to narrow it down a little bit further. He's cashed the over, averaging 33.2 points plus assists per game over their last 5 matchups. Now, they've played so far 2 times this year, like we just mentioned with the previous prop. February 10th and February 20th. He cashed the over both times, so he went 100% hit rate this season versus Atlanta. So some pretty good head-to-head matchup data there for Paolo. So although the overall numbers are not great on paper, pretty solid matchup data. And honestly, he could, again, like Trae Young, he could have done more, right? 22 shots, 25 shots. He shot less than 50% from the floor in both those games. 9.4 potential assists per game over the last 5. 6 potential assists here. 11 potential assists there. So he cashed them both times, but he could have done even more, which I think is very encouraging coming into this one. And again, Orlando's something to play for here. They currently have the 7th seed. A loss here versus Atlanta could push them down to the 8th seed, and now you're really in danger of falling to maybe the 8 or the 9 or the 10 spot, which I just don't think Orlando wants. So there is something at stake here for the Magic in this game, although they cannot make the playoffs right away. They're locked into the play-in tournament. That seeding can end up being very important here. And Atlanta's defense versus power forwards, pretty bad. 18th overall in points, allowed 27th in assists. If you narrow it down to the last 7 games, it's even worse for them, good for us. But they are bottom 10 in the NBA in points allowed. Power forwards have been having field days when playing Atlanta. Don't believe me, look down below here. OG Anunoby, cash. Anthony Davis, cash. Tumani Kamara, cash. Yanni just barely missed it, but Kyle Kuzma, cash. Jabari Smith, cash. So you see power forwards, even when they're missing, they're barely missing the lines, but really good numbers, really good matchup stats here. I love this player prop for minus 105 odds too. Very strong value. All right, guys, our third player prop in today's slate. We're moving on to the Lakers-Thunder game, 8 p.m. tip-off. We're going SGA of the Thunder over 6.5 assists. Now, this one is definitely a juiced line right now, minus 144 over on FanDuel. It's juice, and you're going to have to pay a little extra or sacrifice some potential unit wins in order to take this player prop, but I do think it's worth taking a stab at here. Pretty good numbers. 7 of his last 10 games, he's cashed the over, averaging 7.6 assists per game over his last 10 games. Overall, this season for SGA, just a 49% hit rate, just about half the time, a little bit less than half the time. He's cashed the over this year, averaging 6.34 assists per game overall this season. So not too good, but not too bad either from an overall standpoint, at least from a recent standpoint. The data is pretty solid. The head-to-head data is also very strong, though. 4 of his last 6 matchups against the Lakers, he's cashed the over. That's a 67% hit rate. He's averaging 7 assists per game across his last 6 matchups with the Lakers. And again, like the last 2 player props, he's played the Lakers 2 times this year. Both times he's cashed the over pretty convincingly with 9 assists in each game, including their most recent game literally 2 days ago in a game where they lost by almost 30. SGA had 9 assists in that game with 14 potential assists, 18 potential assists the game before. So he could have done even more. So solid head-to-head data, but the matchup is really the key here. The Lakers bottom 10 in the NBA in assists allowed versus point guards. They are bottom 5 in the NBA in assists allowed. And if you do narrow it down to the last 7 games, the Lakers are giving up the most assists in the NBA to the point guard position over the last 7 games. And if we scroll down below here to the recent performances, looking at point guards, I mean, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, again, he cashed the same line of 6.5 in their last game. Elfrid Payton, remember him? 12 assists in that game against the Lakers for New Orleans. Jose Alvarado just missed it. But look at, Curry, Van Vliet, Scottie Pippen Jr., John Morant, Josh Giddey. The only people who have been missing it are guys like, Bruce Brown, who, he's not even really their point guard. He's more like their small forward who plays some point guard, I guess, or listed as a point guard. He had 1 assist, but his line was only 1.5. But overall, you do see point guards have been having a lot of success with assist numbers against the Lakers. So I think for minus 144, it's very juiced, but I think it's definitely worth the spot here for SGA. So that's our third player prop in today's slate. Guys, before we carry on with our final 2 player props in today's video, I wanted to say a quick thank you to all the support you guys have been giving me over the last couple weeks, and honestly through the entire NBA season. You guys deserve some claps as well. You guys have been fantastic all year long. The support, the likes, the comments, everything. You guys have been fantastic. And I honestly wouldn't do this stuff. I mean, I probably would do it, but I used to do it when we had 100 viewers an episode, but now we have 5,000 plus an episode, and so I'm incredibly grateful. If you guys are still watching this point, thank you very much. I always appreciate those who watch through each and every single video here on the channel. You guys mean a lot to us, and honestly, those who do watch through, and again, if you're just here for the picks, it is what it is, but those who listen to all the videos, who listen to the analysis, who watch through, you guys are incredible. So we just passed 11 minutes, so comment 11 down below in the comment section if you are still watching at this point in today's video. And again, thank you guys very much, because without you guys, we wouldn't be able to do what we do and how well we do it. So thank you very much. I'm glad I've been able to hand out winners all season long. Let's keep handing out winners. We got 2 more player props to give out in today's video. All right, guys, next up, we got Bucks Timberwolves 8 p.m. tip-off. We've got Anthony Edwards of the Minnesota Timberwolves over 26.5 points. Really good value here, minus 105 over on DraftKings. The data is pretty solid across the board here. 6 of his last 10 games, he's cashed the over, including 3 straight, averaging 28.6 points per game over his last 10 games. You go ahead and stretch the data out to the entire season view for Ant. Pretty good numbers, 52% hit rate on the year. 39 out of 75 games, he's cashed the over, averaging 27.41 points per game this year. And obviously this game means a lot. There's a lot of seeding battling going on right now in the Western Conference. So this is not just the end of the year kind of punt game for Minnesota. They need to play hard. They need to win. This is a very big game against another team that's currently in a playoff position in the Eastern Conference. So a pretty important game where I think Anthony Edwards is going to have to go ahead and go off. And honestly, it's a good matchup. He's cashed it in 2 of his last 3 matchups with Milwaukee. It's a 67% hit rate, averaging 27.33 points per game over his last 3 matchups with Milwaukee. Now, they played one time this year back on February 12th. He had 28 points in that game. It was a narrow loss for Minnesota. And a trend that you're seeing, honestly, he could have did way more. 10 for 33, a large shot volume. He did not shoot well at all. And you're seeing he could have done way more. Remember, he just barely cashed this line. Look at this. If I can scroll up here, barely cashed it by a point and a half, right? He could have did way more. He could have had 45 points with the shot volume that he had. He just didn't shoot well. And I think that's encouraging. Most people look at that and say, oh, I don't like that. That's encouraging because I know he's better than a 30% shooter. If he shoots even 40%, he crushes this line. So I think it's a pretty good matchup spot here. Milwaukee overall this year, a decent defensive team versus point guards. They have been abysmal. Versus shooting guards, they do rank okay. But of late, though, shooting guards have been having a lot of success. Look down below here at the matchup numbers here. Austin Reeves, Antonio Reeves get 23 points. Didn't even know there was an Antonio Reeves in the NBA. Alec Burks cashed his line. Quentin Grimes cashed his line. Jared Butler, Grayson Allen, Devin Booker. The only guys you see who are really missing it are guys who, the lines are low to begin with. They're bench players. Dyson Daniels cashed the line. Landry Shamet, Christian Braun. The only misses were Terrence Mann, Karis LeVert, Lonnie Walker. Lonnie Walker, who wasn't even on the NBA to start the year, got cut by the Celtics. So it's, Pell Larson. I don't even know who Pell Larson is. So yeah, I think it's a pretty good spot here for Anthony Edwards. It's a big game, big spot. These are the kind of games where a player like Ant rises to the occasion. I think for minus 105 odds too, it's really strong value. So that's our 4th player prop in today's slate. And our 5th and final player prop in today's slate, it's a bit of a doozy here. It's a plus money play. I don't think I'm going to put a full unit on this one, probably half a unit on this play. It comes from the Spurs-Clippers game, 10:30 p.m. tip-off. It's James Harden of the Clippers over 9.5 assists, which we're getting for plus 105 over on DraftKings. Again, I probably am not going to put a full unit on this one. I think it's a little risky. The data is not very good. 2 of his last 10 games, he's cashed the over, although the last time out versus Dallas, a few days ago, he had 14 assists. So he's had a couple big games here and there. Overall this year, just a 36% hit rate on the over, 27 out of 75 games. He's cashed it, averaging 8.6 assists per game overall this season. The line's definitely a little bit elevated due to the matchup and circumstance. From a head-to-head perspective, just 2 of his last 5 matchups against San Antonio, he's cashed the over. However, the last time they played back on January 29th, he did have 11 assists in that game against San Antonio. So some pretty good numbers in their most recent matchup Yeah, something to go off of. Really, it's all about the matchup here. San Antonio, they are bottom 10 in the NBA in assists allowed to point guards over the last 7 games. Overall this year, they are bottom 10 in the entire NBA in assists allowed to opposing teams versus point guards 21st. So it's pretty consistent over the last 7 games in the overall numbers in both categories. They're bottom 10 in the NBA. The Clippers, like we talked about with the last player prop with Anthony Edwards in Minnesota, the Clippers in a very similar situation where they're going to make at least the play-in, but they do, if they want to make the playoffs, need to win these games. San Antonio should be an easy win for them. Kawhi Leonard is listed as a game-time decision. He might not play, which means that James Harden's going to have to take over and step up. Even if Kawhi plays, they need Harden to play very strong basketball here. I think for plus money value for him to get 10 assists when he got it 11 the last time they played, and even his last game out, I mean, 2 of his last 5, 2 of his last 3 actually, he's cashed the over. And again, similar circumstances versus Dallas, versus New Orleans, some of these lower tier teams he's played very well against. And again, San Antonio, they've been giving up a lot of assists to point guards in general. So I think it's a pretty good prop to kind of throw a half a unit on and take a little risk there. Again, I wouldn't put your house on it, but you know, for plus money odds, throw a half a unit and go ahead and see what it can give you. That's our final player prop in today's slate. So guys, that is it for me today. Thank you very much as always for watching. One more time, guys, please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. I'll be back tomorrow with another NBA player prop and an MLB player prop video. Apologize to those who do watch the MLB videos. No video yesterday, no video today. We'll be back on track tomorrow. And again, I will do an extra video on Saturday, which I already announced I wasn't going to do for Major League Baseball. But because I'm skipping out today and yesterday, I'll make it up to you guys and do an extra video on Saturday to make up for the absence. So just like, listen, the life of being a pizza shop owner, sometimes, you know, people call out for stupid reasons. People don't show up to work, and you just have to, you know, pick up the slack yourself. There's no one else you can call sometimes. So that's just kind of the way it works. So, yeah, enough rambling from me about my personal life. That is it for me today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Until tomorrow, hope you're all winners. Enjoy your Tuesday. And until tomorrow, go ahead and make some money.